Thank you for inviting me here tonight, Georgie, and the rest of the team. Georgie and I go way back a long time. Only she could ring me on probably one of my busiest weekends and say, would you like to be a guest speaker at VRL for our first lot of induction? I said, look, that'll be no problem. Like all of you, you've left comfortable homes, loving family, all your support team, the plants to be watered, the ironing to be done, kids to get ready for school, etc, etc. Husband that's running for council, policemen that need, press shirts and everything, and you've all gotten up here. So, yeah, that's a fantastic thing. I was probably one of the ones that just said, oh, it's only up the road, I'll just drive up to the mountain. We had a huge weekend with 300 people at a reef and beef event, and we had 44 people at our table. We've got some American guests staying with us as well, and my husband was already up here today with this guest. So I was running a little bit late because he had to come home, so I didn't have to take the ute and a ton of grain up the mountain as well. So we've all got challenges to get through so that we can be somewhere that's going to actually make us the person that we want to be. And that's what each and every one of you are here to do in this time frame. I did VRL back in 1999. It seems forever ago. That's 17 years ago. And it was here in the Bunya Mountains. And we all stayed down in the cabins, and we stayed in bunks together, and we had many cooking sessions together, and we had lots of games together. It was interesting, it was exciting, it was, a lot of people had huge expectations and a lot of people had no expectations. But it brought a whole wide range of people together. Now, I know some of you here tonight, and there's a lot that I don't know. There's someone over here, Mark, who remembers me from going to a meeting back in Toowoomba, organised by DAF at the time. There's always a connection with people, no matter where you go. And at the time that I actually was sponsored by the South Burnett Regional Council to come up and do Building Rural Leaders, and our program was for 9 months of the year, for 5 days every month. Of those participants, there were 28 participants, and they came from all over Queensland. They came from Rockhampton, Roma, Tenterfield, Kingaroy, Mergen, everywhere. And of the group, half were men and half were women. See, there's a little less of the men at this one, so that's something we need to look into, Georgie. But it was, at the time, for me, it was the journey which you're undertaking. It was the right timing for me. I'd been married 5 years. I'd previously had worked with DPI for 16 years throughout Queensland. I decided that I would, once I got married, that I was still working, but I was travelling over 130 k's a day to go to work one way, and that wasn't going to be sustainable anywhere. But we were in one of the worst droughts back then. Well, we thought that was one of the worst droughts. Since then, there's been a few more to follow. But at the time, I was driving from our cattle property to Dalby to work with the forestry department. And I would leave early in the morning after I'd done the molasses run with Ken, him going one way, I going the other way. We'd come across cattle that needed pulling out of dams, cattle that we had to shoot, and then I would go get ready and go to work all day, come home, do the hay in the afternoon, all the things that you do because that's what you've got to do. And I'd done a lot of backpacking, 3 years backpacking around the world before I got married, and I had this vision or an idea that I could have people come to my place and I could look after them, like whether it was B&B or it actually eventuated into farm stay. But the idea was that both Ken and I are very outward people, so we loved having people around, and a lot of the people that I'd met when I backpacked, they wanted to come and partake in Australia and the outback experience. So coming up to the Bunyas to do BRL, there were a heap of learnings for me. I actually go back and I reflect on the Action Learning Circle, which I think you've all done today. Well, back in the days when I did it, we all had these little notebooks. I still have it, I still use it. So we had all our notes like that. And tonight I saw that the girls had already given you your books. And I've got mine. We didn't get ours, we didn't have a presentation like you guys did, but we had actual learning put in, and all the notes are here from everything, all the comments and things like that. So this is an invaluable tool to all of you. Use it, write down whatever you think, that resonates with your way of remembering what you're learning. So what did I learn? Back then, I had worked for many years with government. I was always front face in all the government departments, with working with stock inspectors, in soil conservation work. I wasn't a shy person. I've developed being shy. and I certainly years to become shy. But some of the learning points for me was about learning about myself, about my personal growth, about my development. So when I wanted to do the course, I didn't think about, what if I go and I don't get on with that person, or that person doesn't agree with my thinking, or how. It wasn't anything like that. The learning was about me. I had to learn about how I was involved in my community, why sometimes the ideas that I put forward that I'm so excited about and so passionate about, and say, righto, we can do this. What we'll do is we'll get a grant and we'll move this and we'll do that. And they look at me and go, well, that's not going to work. No, that's not going to work. So that's my leadership style. I'm gung-ho, I'm an ideas person, I'm very visionary. And then I've got these people that I work with in community groups. They don't see that at all. All they can see is work. And that's something that I learnt a lot from BRL, is where my style of leadership fits in, and where do other people fit in. And because you're working in, whether it's P&C groups or kindergarten groups, organisation, work colleagues and that, all of those people have got personalities, have got different ideas, different principles. Their passion, their principles might be totally different from yours. So you've got to learn to step back and take a moment to reflect about what is your message that you're trying to get across. I learnt about what my weaknesses were and what my strengths were in my own leadership ways, and I think that's very important, because a lot of people say, oh, well, if you've got strengths there, don't worry about that, just deal with your weaknesses. But that's not as easy as it sounds. Your strengths are what is your strongest point. That is where you will probably capture the moments and capture where you want to be with how you work and what you do. The weaknesses will come along, they will build up to become strengths along the way. I certainly gained more confidence by doing BRL. One of the things that I didn't like doing at all was public speaking. And it's not something even now that settles brilliantly with me. I get very dry in the mouth. I'm a lot better now, where once upon a time I would just stand here like this and I'd just talk, but I've gotten over that. I use my hands a lot. I talk a lot with my hands. It's being able to have that personal space that you feel comfortable in, being able to have eye contact and look at your audience, and hopefully when you do professional speaking that you're saying something that is exciting, that you're showing your passion when you're doing it, that you're making eye contact, and that they're not falling asleep. Isn't that right, Tristan? Because Tristan said, as long as you keep us awake, we should be right. So, but not exactly those words, but so I don't want to look around the room and think, oh God, they're falling asleep, and I've just waffled on, and that's not getting, So it doesn't come easy. I don't think public speaking comes easy to anybody, but I think when you speak in public, it's about what you're passionate about, and you always can speak easily when it's what you do and you do it well. So